Hi, welcome to Procreate Basics. My name is Jasmine. This is a series where I will be teaching you how to do some simple things within Procreate. It's very beginner friendly. If you're not familiar with Procreate, it is a illustration app on iOS and iPadiOS. And as of today, March 2025, it is $12.99 on iPadiOS, and Procreate Pocket, which is for the iPhone, is $5.99. There are other illustration apps like Cree-ta and Sketchbook that you can also use that are not only for the iOS system, and you can still learn with this. So yeah, let's jump into it. We're going to keep it simple. This is lesson number 1. I have Procreate open on my screen here. I'm going to go up to the plus sign in the upper right hand side, and this is where you can start your new projects. There's another plus sign right here that I'm going to click on, and this will open up how you can customize your canvas. There are different canvas sizes like millimeters, centimeters, inches, and pixels. I like to stick with either inches or pixels, mostly inches because it's just more simple that way. You will see also, let me set my width here. I'm going to do 8 by 10. And if you look down here, your DPI and maximum layers, those will change. DPI stands for dots per inch, and dots per inch is a unit of measurement. It basically changes your quality. It will add and subtract dots. You mostly have to worry about this for when you are printing materials, because that's where quality kind of comes into play. The higher your DPI, the more details you will get. The lower, the less details. And your layers will also change with your DPI. Going back to the DPI, the highest kind of standard that you will see is 300 for pretty small printed materials. So I'm going to just set mine at 300 so you can see how your layers will change. And I'm going to change it back to 150 because that's just how it was standard set. And then we also have our color profile here on the left. I'm going to click that. Here you will see your 2 color profiles, RGB and CMYK. RGB is typical for non-printed material, for digital material, and CMYK is for printed material because that is what most printers go off of. I'm going to stick mine, or keep mine with RGB, and we're going to hit create, and we're going to jump into our project. So here in our project, we are going to go to the top left where that wrench kind of icon is. This is your actions menu, and we're going to go over to preferences, which is near the end here. And we're going to click that so we can see how you can kind of customize Procreate to be your own. One thing that I think is pretty neat is that you can change your light interface. So if it's on, you have a white interface here. And if it's off, you have a dark interface, which is what I like to keep mine at. There are also other ways for customizing, such as gesture controls. And for instance, if you go down to general, you can do things like disable undo and redo with your 2-finger and 3-finger tap, which we will cover in a little bit, and lots of other things that you can customize. Mine is pretty standard because Procreate is pretty good with their default controls. For instance, when I was talking about undo and redo, if I draw a shape here and do a 2-finger tap on the screen, it will undo what I just did. Going back to that also, you have your toolbar here on the left, and this will change your brush size. The top part will, the top slider. You can go all the way down to 1, up to 100. And below that is your opacity. Your opacity is how transparent your brush will be. The higher the opacity, the more opaque it will be, and the lower, the more transparent. And then the middle is your color picker. And if you have multiple colors on your screen, for instance, and you go to your color picker, you can click and drag where your color that you want to pick is. I'm going to undo everything I just did so we can get more into what is available. So we're going to go into our variety of brushes. At the upper right hand side, you will see a brush icon. If you click on that, there are lots of brushes that Procreate already has built into their system. You can also edit brushes that they already have. For instance, I'm under the inking category. I'm using syrup. That is a very common brush. And you can change the texture, which is how the brush looks. And you can also change the line weights and everything, which we will go into as well. But mind you, if you do change it, and you can see how it changes on the right here. If you change it and click done, it's locked that way. You cannot revert it back to how it was before. But for instance, if you have it here and you click cancel, it will go back to the default. But there are lots you can do with changing your brushes. You can also download brushes online for free and to buy. Next thing we're going to do is go to our smudge tool, which to do that, I'm going to draw just a little bit so I can give you examples on how the smudge tool works. The smudge tool is right next to the brush icon. It looks like a finger pointing. And just like the brush icon, if you click it again, you can change what your smudge tool looks like. I have mine on the same brush as I do my normal drawing brush, which is the syrup under the inking category. And if you just drag your pencil along what you have drawn, it smudges it. This is good for like blending and making more textures with your brush. Next to the smudging icon is your eraser tool. If you click it, just like with the brush tool and with the smudging tool, you can change what kind of eraser you have. I like to keep mine on hard brush because it's pretty, I don't know, standard. It feels like a normal eraser for me. So I'm gonna make my eraser big and I'm gonna erase everything I just did. So we can move on. One other tip you can do with your Procreate experience here is draw perfect circles and perfect straight lines. For instance, if you try and draw a circle and hold it to your screen, hold your pencil to your screen, you will see this thing pop up top. If you click the arrow that's there, you can change your shape. You can make a perfect circle if you just hit circle. And what you can also do is draw a perfect line doing the same thing. So if you try and draw a line and just hold it, it will create a straight line for you. Next, we will cover the color wheel, which the color wheel is where you pick your colors. So the top right is where we're gonna go for that. Mine is black right now, but you can choose all the colors of the rainbow. And again, this is in the RGB color profile. If you do CMYK, it's gonna be slightly different visually, but you can still pick all the colors of the rainbow. So here's my color wheel. I usually use a disc, but if you look down below in this menu here, you'll see classic, harmony, value, and palettes. With palettes, you can make your own color palettes to say if you're working on a project and you need to remember what colors you're using, you can click plus up here, create new palette, and scroll to the top and you can rename your palette. And if you go back to your color wheel, it will be down here at the bottom. If it is not at the bottom, it is just not set at your default, and that's okay. You will go back to your palettes and you will click your 3 dots on the side there and just set it as default. And how you select new colors for your palette is you select whatever colors you want on your wheel and you just tap the squares. If you have a color you do not want on your palette, you will click and hold that color and you can delete your swatch. I'm gonna go back to my good colors palette and set that as my default because those are my good colors. And we're gonna talk about a couple more things here, which includes dragging and dropping color into your palette. To click and drag color, you're gonna go to your color that is at the top right, and you're gonna hold it, drag it, and drop it. I'm gonna undo so I can show you one more thing with that. If you click it, drag it, drop it, and hold it, you will see something up top that is called a threshold. Mine is set at 85 right now. If you slide up and slide down, so I'm moving left and right with my pin here, you will see the number go up and down. If your number is lower, it will not fill in as much as the shape that you're trying to fill. So it will fill less than what you're trying to fill. But if you drag it higher, it will bleed outside of your shape. I like to keep mine around 85, but your color threshold will depend on what project you're working on. You can kind of play around with that. There are lots that you can do with your color threshold. One more tip is that if you draw a perfect circle, or any shape rather, I'm gonna do a perfect circle for this example, and your opacity is low, mine right now is set at about 50, and you try to fill your color, it's gonna bleed outside of your boundaries because your opacity is not at 100. So your opacity will need to be at 100 for your color fill to work properly. I'm gonna undo everything I just did. I'm going to show you two more tools that you can use in Procreate, and that is your transform tool and your selection tool, which your transform tool is this arrow up here on the left, and you can move around your project with it. You can flip horizontal and flip vertical and rotate your project. If you move it around and you're like, actually, I like where it was before, you can hit reset here on the very right of your toolbar at the bottom. You can also do more complicated things like warping your project using the warp mesh here on the very far right up top. But I'm gonna do everything, or reset everything, and then I'm gonna show you your selection tool. Your selection tool is right next to your transform tool. It is it looks like a ribbon. It looks like an S. And I've selected that. And there are a couple things you can do with your selection tool. Under the selection tool, I am on freehand because what you can do with freehand is draw shapes to move around things. So I'm gonna draw another shape here so I can show you what that looks like. Different color. I am under my selection tool. If I want to move something in my project, I can just draw around it and make sure I close my circle. Select the transform tool. I'm gonna go back to freeform for it, and I can move that around. And now that is part of another shape, just like that. I'm gonna do that one more time. I'm gonna do undo one more time. Go to my selection tool. I am under freehand. I draw around that shape, click that gray circle, go back to the transform tool, and it's under freeform, and I can click and drag that shape wherever I want. And that is everything I have for you in this lesson. We have covered canvas settings, preferences, the toolbar, the color wheel, the possibilities of brushes, and the selection tool, as well as the transform tool. Thank you to Factory Obscura for letting us use your space, and thank you for the Arts Council, OKC, for making this happen.